Hello, this is Moscow and Gdańsk speaking. My name is Lena Darmenko, and today I'm going to interview our colleague, Natasza Kosakowska-Berezecka. She is the Associate Professor of the Division of Cross-Cultural and Gender Psychology at the Institute of Psychology and of the University of Gdańsk. Welcome, Natasza. So I'm glad that you're here, and we have this opportunity to talk a little bit about you, about your experience, and about your role as the representative of our international association in Europe. So the first question will be the most general one. Why cross-cultural psychology? What was your first contact with this field of study? Tell us, please.
So first of all, why cross-cultural psychology? For me, the first association and the very strong connection is like why IACCP even, because my first kind of touch base on cross-cultural psychology happened when I was already a student of psychology at University of Gdańsk, and I became, well, as most of the students studying psychology, fascinated with social psychology. And then in each of the courses, you have this module concerning gender stereotypes. And when you talk about gender stereotypes, there's always this section, which at that time was pretty limited to, a couple of, lines of research concerning gender stereotypes in cross-cultural perspective. And then you have a brilliant study by Debbie Bester and John Williams that actually undertook this pretty ambitious plan to analyze gender stereotypes and gender self-construals across almost 20 countries. So it was the first ever study done with an, cross-cultural perspective and cross-cultural focus on gender stereotypes. And then I became fascinated with it because I wanted to see, and the study was done back in the 80s, and we had already 2000. I was thinking like, so what it would look like these days? So what is it like to be a woman or a man in different cultural settings? Especially when you think about our psychology that is being taught at universities, it's very weird oriented. So weird, educated, etc. So always focused on the samples usually coming from the US. So then when you have this fresh air of research focused on other samples rather than, Western Europe or US, you become fascinated with the fact that what has been established as a very, universal concept or theory, then does not seem to work in other cultural contexts. So that was my first step towards cross-cultural psychology, seeing that maybe what we're being taught is not so universal. And then this aspect of gender stereotypes and gender equality in different contexts, and my personal field of, touched this first phase of cross-cultural psychology related to actually gender stereotypes in different cultural contexts. I focused on Polish and Polish students and in India. That was my first comparative cross-cultural study I ever done.
So the gender and the cross-cultural psychology, what a perfect combination. So tell us more about your academic career. What's your personal professional background?
So my personal professional background, I think I would always describe myself as a two-legged person. Well, two-legged because I have two legs, but also my two legs belong to different fields of my activities. Because number one, I am a researcher. I identify myself as a scientist in cross-cultural psychology of gender. I'm also experimental social psychologist, so I kind of combine those lines of research in establishing different links between understanding of femininity and masculinity in different cultural contexts. And as I was mentioning to you, that I was driven to replicate the studies done in the 80s by Debbie Bester, John and Williams. And actually right now I'm working with Debbie Bester in our project that we also do with our great colleagues from University of South Florida, so Jennifer Bossam and Joe Vandello. And there's a wonderful bunch of team back at my University of Gdańsk that we collect data concerning contemporary understanding of femininity, masculinity in 62 countries. And this is amazing and very exciting work because number one, I'm working with researchers in 62 countries, and there is a group of people that actually are over 200 different scientists collecting data within this our project. And our main focus is actually on counter stereotypical behavior and violations of gender norms. So we look at different understandings of what it like to be a woman and a man, but also we analyze what happens and when women and men lose this femininity or masculinity state. So it's very interesting and exciting to have data not only that are quantitative, but also qualitative, because we
absolutely
questions. So we approach mixed methods. We use a mixed method approach to it. So it's a fascinating study. And I also see the great potential in it, and this will concern my second leg in my research, because apart from being a scientist, I'm also a practitioner. So I'm an educator and I'm a trainer and a mediator. So I use our scientific results to enhance something which we can call openness to diversity. So my main field of interest is different factors enhancing gender diversity and gender equality within institutions and organizations. And I have this privilege and this also great fun and opportunity to use, ready and very important results from our research within the aspect of actually bringing gender equality in institutions. But now in Europe, as such, European Union has established this policy that will be functional soon, that if universities in Europe want to have and reach for grants within Horizon 2020 and other grants that are funded by European Union, they need to implement something called gender equality plans. So right now it's a very good space and moment for gender equality researchers, because this is a great opportunity to plan really informative research-based interventions in different institutions. Here I'm talking about universities, that you can actually establish and make stronger links between science and academic institutions, because you want to strengthen gender equality measures, because it's ordained from European Union. That's number one. But also, secondly, I think at these times like this, we talk about actually having a necessity to bring stronger ties between science and society, especially that we are now facing global problems, and global problems are something that we need to solve globally. And we talk about establishing grounds for effective cross-cultural collaboration, and then cross-cultural psychology as such as an important field of science, because this is a need for bringing important knowledge to a strengthened worldwide cooperation. So I think that having those two areas of line of functioning, so science, being a scientist, but being also a practitioner, something that we should link these days, because we are in fact facing global problems, and scientists need sometimes also to take a stance and a voice to help solve societal issues and challenges.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. And you were talking about the communities. So let's move to our International Association of Cross-Cultural Psychology. So why did you join it, and how do you see your role as the regional representatives? What specific goals do you have? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to contribute? How do you want to benefit? I know that's lots of questions, but
so starting from this historical moment with my first touch base cross-cultural psychology as in the form of International Association for Cross-Cultural Psychology, so our IACCP. This was back in 2006 when I was presenting my first cross-cultural research ever. So it was just basic comparison between Polish students and students in India, and we were doing this research at the University of New Delhi, where we were analyzing, how counter-stereotypical behavior in women and men is judged by students. So I was working within the field of backlash effects. So backlash effects are those form of punishments for, for people behaving not according to gender norms. And I was presenting this research in SPETSES 2006 Congress. And any of us who have ever been to IACCP congresses, they have the same, well, as much as I know, and I have the record from all my colleagues and friends, is that it's amazing experience because number one, you are very scientifically inspired and you get a wonderful access to quality research, and when you hear about really wonderful and inspiring results of different research. But secondly, it's also a very open society that has this friendly vibe and pretty inclusive atmosphere. So I loved it, and this is when you go ICP, you can't leave ICP in a way, because you're becoming a very welcome and included person, and has been like that since 2006, up to the moment that actually I wanted to strengthen this experience, and together with Saba Savdar, Sharon Glazer, and Alex English, my great colleagues, we actually applied for organizing culture and psychology summer school, so ICP culture and psychology schools, and then having this experience of kind of triggering this inclusive element via CP school, so bringing new young scholars to the association has sometimes haven't even been to the conference. So that's their first touch with cross-cultural psychology as an association in the form of ICP. It was amazing because you just feel that this is the same kind of inspirational vibe. So what we are creating here is that there are wonderful people who are doing wonderful cross-cultural research and now can get access to more expertise, more talent, and can widen their collaborations. And I think one of the most beautiful and pretty important things in cross-cultural psychology is to establish those, big collaborative networks, like we do in one of the projects I mentioned, so towards gender harmony, where we analyze the contemporary context of femininity, masculinity. So this is amazing thing. But then again, when you do cross-cultural projects, you really need to make an awful lot of effort to create your collaborative networks. But then if you're the member of ICP, it gets easier because you know people who know people, and then you can get access to amazing colleagues who can become the part of your research network. And this is what actually ICP gives, right? You are the member of association that has amazing experts with wonderful knowledge, and especially right now when cross-cultural psychology is in the moment of great development, because we are statistically so advanced and we are actually inventing and working on new methods of doing a proper cross-cultural comparisons, right? To meet variance criteria, not to be biased when we do, cross-cultural research within really wonderful cultural context. So basically, when I think about my role in ICP, so I kind of, when I became the member of an organizing committee of CP school, I was thinking that in a way it's one of the things I could do to help promote this idea of ICP being a really good network of experts. Also, my particular interest also relates to the fact that I think that science, although of course has to be primary, and we are developing new theoretical frameworks for future research, but we also need to think of the ways that science is a responsible element, and we are responsible for our science. And one of the elements and fundamental issues doing responsible science is that you bring it to the society. So that's like very important aspect for me. So what role ICP can have in solving current global problems, what role ICP can have in increasing the quality of life of people across different nations. I know that it might sound bombastic, but in a way, when you have science, you're responsible for your science, and when you have scientific research, I think ICP needs to identify with the idea of having a voice and being a consulting body and consulting group for different projects that need to be implemented, right? Yeah, so we are talking about, right now we need improvement in many policies. We are entering a new phase, as we were discussing it together with you, another phase of COVID fatigue. We are living in an online world, and without, proper collaboration between people across different nations, bringing together new policies, linking our nations together to solve a common problem, I think it's an important aspect to have in mind when we think about the future of our association. I recently heard a very interesting comment And of course, it's not about agreeing or disagreeing, but
Mhm.
just to bring something to our imagination that if the whole world for 3 weeks just, experience total lockdown. So all of the nations, all the people would just decide, okay, for next 3 weeks,
Mhm.
we are under the state of lockdown. We are not, moving. That's
Mhm.
it. So probably, there are those concepts saying that, if you do it for 3 weeks, we're under lockdown, we are done with coronavirus, right? Because
Mhm.
no transmission will be possible. And when you think about it, of course, it's impossible probably to do, but when you think about it, so what would be the factors that would help people across nations to do one thing together,
Mhm.
right? Like unisonly, like, decide on something like this. And then I think it's a great moment for an important moment for scientists, because we are studying those factors. We are studying factors bringing cross-cultural cooperation. We are studying those factors creating openness to diversity.
Mhm.
So this is a very important base for policies, and IACCP has in its, with its in a basket of wonderful,
Mhm.
resources, a great expertise that needs to be more efficiently transmitted. And secondly, we are an association that has, different networks within countries. And then as regional representative for Europe, I think one of the important goals for us is to trigger bottom-up movement. Because, we are the members, and, we are hundreds of people who are involved in IACCP. So then if, at least half of those members will start triggering interesting,
Mhm.
important within their regions, this is a massive, this is a massive influence in a way. But then as associations, we also are working on different ways and projects how to trigger this bottom-up movement
Mhm.
and make stronger links between people within the association to start collaborations together, because science is also about collaborations, and right now interdisciplinary collaborations and applied collaborations are of extreme importance. So then how we as associations can kind of trigger it, I think it's a very important aspect of for our goals, help people, get networks, trigger some bottom-up movements to
Mhm.
see projects, greater influence within the regional, but also, cross-regional scope.
Mhm. Thank you very much for this nice conversation.
Thank you, Ellen.
Stay safe and let's hope for the better future. Good luck to us all, and thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you all, and especially you, Elena,
Yeah,
in
thank
person.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.